are you? Welcome to my Italian kitchen again. This is the Frugal Gourmet talking about red meats in Italy. In our country, we eat bigger chunks of meat at a single meal. In Italy, they are more likely to take a smaller amount of meat and cook it in such a way that it is so rich it'll nearly kill you. But it's a wonderful way to cook. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. Red meats, primarily from the north, though Craig has a dish from Sicily that's going to knock your socks off. So sit down, grab your notebook, and let's start cooking beef, veal, and pork. Now, Italian meat shops are very different from our own. In Italy, Italian shops, meat shops are just gorgeous. You can wander through any major city. This is Turin. Look at these places. The meat is hanging outside the cases. That's our health department would scream bloody murder, but in Italy it's perfectly all right. And it's very fresh. They move stuff in a hurry. In the north, they eat a lot of meat. This market in Turin, he has a goat leg there that he's weighing out. And of course, the lovely city of Florence, Firenze. They're very fond of innards there. I hope you saw us do innards. But their public market, right here in the middle of the city, right near the cathedral, is just a lovely, lovely place. You can buy all sorts of meats there, and you can buy creatures that have just recently been killed and are still whole. Rabbits and pheasants, all sorts of things. Now, in the fancy markets, this one, look out, Smith, you're going to faint. This, look at the prices on that. That's 24,000 lira for a kilo. Oh, boy, that's very expensive veal. But that was a wonderful place, and this is Peck's. Now, watch this. We go in there and start looking around. These are all cured meats in Milan, very near the cathedral again. A lovely, lovely place. And these Parma hams, there's a whole piggy if you want to take that home. Craig is fascinated by the hams, and so am I. We decide to buy one, and when we take it to the gal in cash, she weighs it out, and she, how much is it? How much is it? I can't even remember. Look, she's embarrassed. Craig says, come on, get out of here, Smith. And away we go. I'm talking costly. Look at her now. She can look at she's so sweet. At Crystal Meats, this place has been in business, you can see, since 1947. This is down on the Pike Place Public Market in Seattle. And this is where Craig and I buy all of the meats that we use on our shows and that we use. This is Dolores. Craig's trying to talk her out of a sale for the day, and she says, no, look at the board. She's one of the owners. She and her husband own the place. Don't you wish you had a butcher that gorgeous? Look at the case she has. That's the kind of thing that she does. Wonderful, wonderful meats. Look at them all. And they make their own sausage. Chickens are skinned and ready for you. They're wonderful, wonderful people. So it's lots of fun to go there. I love a good meat market. I don't understand something that is wrapped up in a piece of saran wrap and you can't pick it up and smell it or poke it or look at it in the glass case, you see. Tough way to go. First of all, meatballs. Of course I'm going to make meatballs, but I want to show you a method that's a little bit different. There's a fellow in Philadelphia by the name of Criniti. There's a whole bunch of people in Philadelphia by the name of Criniti, but he runs a restaurant, a Sicilian restaurant, and this is the way he makes meatballs. Very different. First of all, I need 6 cups of old bread, big cubes, you see, and I've soaked this in water, and I want to drain the water out of this. See how that mess? See how that is? All right, so we squeeze the water out of this, and I'm going to put that into the meat mixture. Now, I better show you the meat mixture first. Here it is. The meat mixture consists of 6 cups of dried bread cubes. We're going to pour that in there. Now, here you have 1 pound of veal. This is 1 pound of ground pork butt. This is a ½ pound of beef chuck. And this is 1/3 of a pound of pork fat. Pork fat? Yes, of course, because you have to have some moisture in the thing, you see? And the pork fat will do that. It's going to drain. Don't worry about it. So we'll squeeze out the breadcrumbs. And this will lighten it up. I've ground the meat on fine on my meat grinder. All right, Smith, don't take everybody's daytime to squeeze out all this bread. But anyhow, you're going to put in the whole works. And here are the rest of the ingredients. I now want to add to my 4 meats, actually, 4 meats in the breadcrumbs, bread cubes. I want to add a third of a cup of onion, all chopped up. This is yellow onion, and I want to add some cheese, about 4 tablespoons of freshly grated Parmesan Reggiano cheese. Don't use that cheap stuff in a little box. Remember? We've talked about that, so it's just an awful thing to do. I need some garlic. A couple cloves of chopped garlic, and I've already chopped this before you came. There we are. And then I need some dried marjoram, about a half teaspoon. You don't want much. Marjoram is sort of has a kind of a mild flavor of it's similar to oregano, I think. And I need 3 whole eggs, beaten. There, isn't that thrilling? There it is. That pretty much does it, I think. I need some parsley, about 2 tablespoons, 1, 2, and I need some salt. And you can vary the salt so that if you're on a salt-free diet, don't put much in. I want a couple teaspoons, 1, 2. There we go. And some pepper, about a teaspoon will do. Teaspoon will be plenty. That's it. There we go. I love pepper. If you're trying to cut down on salt and fat in your diet, jack up your diet with spices. They're very good for you. And a little white wine. I've told you that before, of course. Now then, here's the fun part. You mix all of this up, all of the meats. And you see, normally you could mold this into a loaf right now, or you could make it into balls. But you know what he does? This is very interesting. He grinds it a second time so that the texture that you wind up with is almost like a sausage. It's very finely ground, closer to a sausage than to anything else. So I'm going to put probably half of this batch into my food processor. I've got a big one here. And we're just going to grind the blazes out of this stuff. Oh, in each batch, you grind it in 2 batches and put about a tablespoon of olive oil in the batch just to get the machine rolling nicely. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. There you go. And we'll grind her up. Let her fly. That's plenty. You see, what we have now is a very different texture for a meatball. It's not totally ground like the center of a weenie. It's coarser than that. But it's certainly much softer than the kind of meatballs you and I normally make. Wet your hands when you roll these, and then they won't stick. This will make about 35 meatballs. Now what you do is to put the meatballs on a tray. If I'm working in a hurry, I'll take this out of here, of course, but I use an ice cream scoop, you see? Roll it out. If your hand's wet, this won't stick at all. Pile them onto a tray. You want to make about 35 of these. And then we're going to put them in the oven and roast them for a bit. We're going to roast them at 375 degrees for 25 minutes. The result is a cooked meatball, of course. I've had these out of the oven for a bit. And I've also got some others in the oven. You see, I've stolen some from you. But see how nice these are? Now, you can serve them just like this. They're done enough to serve. But this is what Mr. Criniti does. And I think this is just terrific. Here we go. A dish, a meatball or 2, and he cuts them in half and lays them side down in the dish. Cuts them in half, and then tops the dish with tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese, and then he serves them murderously hot in the baking dish right out of the oven. Bakes them a second time. Takes about 15, 20 minutes the second time around. What did I say? No, I just said bubbly. So you bake yours till they're bubbly. Tomato sauce. Better turn you off, kiddo. There we are. Put some tomato sauce on the top of these. Oh, kitchen smells so good today. I'm just sick that you can't smell it. I don't know where the cheese is. Here's some. Here we go. Here's some grated mozzarella. Coarse grated, of course. Sorry. It's pretty apparent I write my own stuff, isn't it? But I have more fun than anybody else, I'll tell you that. All right, into a 375-degree oven until they're bubbly. And And these are already bubbly, and they're just hotter than a $2 shotgun. So here's our first dish today. Baked meatballs. Here we go. But you can also serve them on the top of spaghetti if you like to do that. Or you can put them in other dishes. It's all right. These are really nice. Very nice. And I love that crunchy cheese topping. That's so good. All right, the next one. I think I'm doing veal and ham. Oh, yes. First of all, look at my ham over here. This is a Parma ham. This meat machine is my baby. We brought that in from Milan. This is an antique, and it's great. Greg, take a slice of ham off that for me, will you? Watch this. Watch this. It's just wonderful fun. Look at it go.
Paper thin.
Isn't that gorgeous? All right. Now you take some of those pieces of ham and some veal, and we're going to make a wonderful dish that, the kind of thing I was talking about, that stretches your budget. First of all, we take a slice of veal. These are 4-ounce veal, what's the proper cut of meat? 4-ounce veal cutlet. You got it with me today? Okay. Here we go. We'll just need one of these. The butcher will prepare them for you like this. You see? They're not very thick. It's all set to go. But that's too thick for me. In Italy, you'd make them thinner. So I'm going to pound it out. Here's a lesson for you today. This is heavy plastic that is used to cover windows. You buy it at the hardware store. Tell them you want vinyl sheeting that is 8 millimeters thick. Do not store food in this stuff. That's not what it's for. But this is what I do with it. Plastic on both sides, a meat pounder. Watch this now. Can you see how much larger this has gotten? Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So it's thin and ready now. Did I make enough noise? It's thin and ready now for the next step. And this is very simple. I have a friend here that helps me run the kitchen, and he made this dish for his family the other night, and he tells me it went over great, so I was tickled. A couple teaspoons of parsley in each one of these, and a thin slice of prosciutto, the ham that Craig was just working on. You see? You can almost see through this stuff. That's beautiful. We want to put in some pepper, and there's lots of salt in the prosciutto, but you might want to add a little bit more because we don't want the veal to be bland. A little bit of pepper and a pinch of salt. This is the kind of cooking I love because by the time my guests get there, I can have everything completely done and sitting in the oven. I want to sit down with my guests and have a glass of sherry. I want to hug. I want to gossip about what Channing was doing in algebra class, that sort of thing. I don't want to cook when I have guests in the house. So this sort of thing you can always plan ahead. Now, here's the next step. We're going to roll this up, and you can either tie it if you want to go to that kind of work. But I think it's easier. Just stick a toothpick in it. We just want to hold it together for the first stage of cooking. So I'm going to put a toothpick in it, like so. You see? I have one. Now I'm using 6 slices, 4 ounces each, for this dish, so I can serve 6 people. I'm making 6 rolls. This little roll will be ample for your dinner. Of course, if you serve it Italian style, that is to say, you're going to serve it with pasta. You've got other things you're going to do with it. Now, we'll get this into we're going to flour this. You see? And then we're going to fry it in a pan with a little bit of butter and a little bit of olive oil. Fry them until they're good and brown, then pop them, no lid. You've got to use a frying pan that has no, I'll show you one. A frying pan that has no plastic handle on it. I hate plastic handles on my frying pans. I don't own one. Mine are all metal handles. So I can put them in the oven, right? So after you brown them, then you pop these in a hot oven and cook them for about, let's see, how long do you cook them? In a 375-degree oven, after they've already been browned in the pan outside, you'll only have to cook them for about 10 minutes, and we're ready to go. So I'm bringing them back up to temperature here. I better get a clamp or something, or I'm going to be in real trouble. Well, my clamp seems to have clamped itself to death. All right, I'll use my hands. Here we go. And we're going to remove them to a platter. There we are. And then we're going to deglaze the pan. And remember, deglazing means Kids, don't do this if you see me do it. You go find that clamp. We're going to deglaze the pan with a little bit of red wine and a little bit of chicken broth. Just a quarter of a cup or so. And I'll let that cook down. I think I should cut one of these, don't you, so you can see what it looks like? There we are. Okay, let that simmer down a bit. What we're doing is simply causing the brownie yumminess that formed in the pan when we were frying these to cook down into a sauce. You've seen it baked in the pan, so it was already reduced a bit. Now let me show you what this looks like. These are very beautiful. When you cut them, you'll see a nice little pinwheel affair. You see? Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? Got it? There. All right, back onto the plate now, and I'm going to put the sauce on it. And I don't like to cover the thing with sauce. I like to pour it around the outside, so that's what I'm going to do. Mark, would you bring that crazy roast that Craig made? Bring it in here so we can look into it, huh? I'm going to try and get it down the sides instead of trying to cover it. There you are. And you'd serve it just like this. Isn't that gorgeous? A little parsley. There. That's a lovely meat dish. All right. 1, 2. Am I ready for that one yet? Set it down and he can come and open it. Okay. Hey, Craig, we're ready for you. I can't even say this. What is the name of this dish?
Thanks, Mark. Farsumagru from Sicily.
All right, let's see it.
And this is 2 flank steaks. You know what that cut of meat is. We've used those on previous shows and all that.
Well, I'll show them what a flank steak is.
It needs to be pounded out.
There you go. Here's the flank steaks.
There you go.
Okay, and you've used 2 of these. Pounded them out.
And
okay.
I put them together and then season the steaks with salt and pepper. And there's a breadcrumb mixture that goes inside here that has pancetta in it. That's the Italian bacon. And that's sauteed down with some parsley and the breadcrumbs, a little bit of egg, chopped onion, hard-boiled eggs. It goes on and on and on.
What was your special edition?
Asparagus.
Asparagus.
It's very typical to prepare this sort of dish with vegetables inside of it, but not normally are you going to find asparagus in it. So let's see what it looks like.
All right. Here, let me help you. You're on. Oh, you're going to do that. You cook like I do.
I know.
Good for you. All right, let's slice it up and see what you got.
I'll just leave the string on there because...
well, let's slice it this way so they can see.
Okay, here we go. How's that? See what's going on?
Oh, Craig.
There's hard-boiled eggs. Not every person's going to get an egg, but every other person will.
Oh, my Lord, that's beautiful.
Yeah, let's serve it up.
You know, I don't have any room to put this thing.
Again?
Again, there you go. There we go. Oh, look at the slices. How many people will that serve?
111.
Now what are you going to do?
That's a great dish. Well, in the pan that it was roasted in, after you've browned this, and then roasted it for about, an hour or so, you don't need to cook it very long because flank steak cooks quickly, and you want to toughen it. You pour some red wine, about a half a cup, and maybe a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste.
Tomato paste, red wine.
And some chicken stock.
Chicken stock, okay.
Pour it over the roast.
Do it.
It's been in the pan. And
that's okay. Just put it on, Craig. We're not going to have time. I want you to see that other one, too. And it's just on the edges. Just on the edges. I don't want it on top of the meat. Great. Oh, that's beautiful, Craig.
You could reduce this down a little bit if you'd like, and have a little thicker sauce.
Sure.
Not always necessary.
Let's look again at what he's got in here. Hard-boiled egg, salami, pancetta, breadcrumbs with garlic, asparagus, pork, and then the outer casing, of course, is the flank steak. That's murder.
It's a great dish.
Oh, we've got one more to look at. Let's haul it out, will you? It's the pork roast with...
Okay. Pork roast with pancetta.
You're not even going to see any... You're not going to see any pasta today. Isn't that awful? We've got too many good things going. That's very good. That's very good.
This is a pork butt that has been boneless, tied, untied, and then filled with mortadella, which is the Italian sort of, we know as bologna, but it's hardly that.
boneless, tied, untied. Now, I'm getting some string here, but our friends aren't going to care. These people will eat anything when they come by. They'll eat anything. Pig string. There, you can see it now. You can see the roll. And this is the... Have you got some mortadella we could show?
Sure.
Get some, will you? I want them to see what it is. I'll put this on a plate while you do that. Mortadella is the ancestor of what we call, as you say, bologna.
That's the stuff.
Okay. All right, let's put this on a different plate. I want to use this plate for that. Okay? Thank you. Explain that while I dish this up, will you?
Well, like I said, it's like bologna, but it's not. It's the ancestor of bologna. But this has large pieces of fat in it and black pepper, and it has flavor, and it's not bland like the stuff we're familiar with. So inside of a pork roast, tied up, it adds additional flavor, and it's a great thing to do.
That's so good. Where did we have that? Bologna? Had to be. Had to be bologna. The idea of flavoring a roast with another kind of luncheon meat struck me as being a tad odd, but of course in bologna you use mortadella. That's where bologna that we know was invented, except that theirs is wonderfully flavored. And ours is leftover parts of the cow. I mean, really leftover. I don't like bologna, but I love mortadella. All right, let's put this out. I think we've got it there. Now, this roast with the mortadella in it, the additional flavor of the mortadella means that you can cut a thinner slice for your guests. No, I'm not trying to be cheap. I didn't mean to imply that. What I'm saying is that in Italy, you cook meats in such a way that you can stretch them out. In our system, in America, and I'm not knocking our system, we have much better meat than you can buy in Italy. Much better beef, lamb. That's true of most of Europe, I think. We have much better meat here. Most people will admit that. It's the way we feed them, the way we care for them, that sort of thing. But in Europe, meat's very, very expensive, at least twice what we pay. So you stretch it out with fancy fillings and Craig's recipe from Sicily. Well, actually, the original recipe from Sicily, but his is better. He added all kinds of wonderful things. This thing, you see, you can slice, one slice for a person is so rich that it's going to be dinner. Just one slice of this stuff will certainly do it. I think that's a great idea. Try me again, Craig.
Farsumagru.
Farsumagru. Thank you, chef. I appreciate your help. No, he's not for hire. No, I don't know how to get you into this kitchen, but I certainly wish you could join us. So today, rich meats, we intend to talk about smaller servings, not like we talk about a meat, shall we have steak tonight? You don't say that in very many places in Italy. You use a very thin slice of meat and doctor it up in such wonderful ways. Well, we have meatballs baked Criniti style. Those are good. And a small veal tenderloin filled with a bit of Parma ham, cooked in butter and oil. And this pork roast with mortadella in it is just heavenly. And Craig's Farsumagru, it's a wonderful, wonderful roast from Sicily. So you can eat very, very well, stretch out the meal, and have a good time. My mother used to make these little things, these veal ties. When I was a kid, she called them birds. These are really hot. This is no bird. This is great stuff. Till I see you again, this is the Frugal Gourmet. I bid you peace. Bye-bye.